Oh, yes.
one high school that I actually went to. And they got rid of the spam teacher because it had the evolutionary picture of the evolving and holding trumpets. They were making a play on words. And people got so upset that they actually banned the shirt, and the school saying they didn't want to be associated with evolution, and that's not the first time something like that has happened
Oh,
at
yeah.
that school, actually. So I want to know if you agree that we're catering and sort of festering this to keep going on because everybody seems to cater.
Yes, we are. That we have many people making these very strange arguments and essentially say that they can believe whatever they want. Well, of course they can believe whatever they want. But can we trust them when they believe strange nonsense like that the earth is 10,000 years old? And what we should be doing is not saying, well, we're going to throw you in prison for this. No, we're not going to do that. But we are going to laugh very hard at you. And we are going to do things like call you a moron when you make statements that are directly contradicting all the scientific evidence. And I don't think that loses me the argument. I think what that is a necessary first step in advancing the argument, is that we've got a body of outright lunatics who are trying to dictate science in this country. Anybody who thinks the earth is 10,000 years old has immediately disqualified themselves from any conversation about science, because they have rejected all the evidence. Yes?
Here's a fundamental question. Is there any practical way, real way, in which creationism has hurt science? Scientific research. Is there a single event?
Yes, there is a way that they hurt science. And I can tell you this from personal testimony, from testimony of all my colleagues in biology, is that we, every year, get this crop of freshman students who don't know a thing. We have a public school system where we shuttle kids through for 12 years, and they come out of that completely ignorant.
That has to do with the rottenness of the education system.
Yes, it does.
Right? But has it hurt really scientific research and the progress of science?
Yes, it has. Because what it does is it reduces the pool of students that we can use to build the scientific institutions that we have. Now, what we're doing, we're a country of 300-some million people. And what it's basically saying is that a large fraction of them are removed from the educational pool that we can have.
On the other hand, the funding for science per capita in this country is higher than anywhere else in the world. You're aware of that.
Right.
So, I see a paradox. On the one hand, you have the population that doesn't understand science, right? On the other hand, you have huge support for the funding of science.
Right.
How does that go together?
That goes, well, the reason we get that funding is because science works, right? We have significant material advances from science that even the creationists can't refute, although they will tell us, well, it's built on wrong presuppositions or whatever. But what it means is that we are, as I mentioned earlier, we're a country with a very wide divide between the rich and the poor. And that doesn't just mean rich and poor economically, but the rich and the poor in educational resources and the background to comprehend science. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm kind of an egalitarian. I would like to see everybody brought up to the same level. There are a lot of smart kids out there, and I include all those kids of creationists who are bright, who have a great future ahead of them, but who are going to be handicapped by the fact that they're indoctrinated with this absurd foolishness that is going around in this country. So yeah, I would say that's hurting our country. It's hurting individual people in this country.
We'll go one more question,
Okay.
and then we're going to call it. Why is it that we don't fight the popular that we need to fight? Creationists are so much better at it than we are because they have the museum where we can go and you can see this stuff.
And they have the
You
soundbite.
go out there and fight the popular and say, I can remember when I was sitting in an evolutionary class and when there was a series of slides that I can remember a specific minute where I said, I get it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the whole made sense to me. And that, to me, was solid. That was more than any religion I'll ever need. It was more than anything. But we don't say that. We say life really sucks. It's brutal, it's harsh, this is the way it works. We don't go out there and say, it's freaking beautiful, people.
Why, yes, we do.
Look at the way it works. It's freaking beautiful. And we don't fight that war.
Oh, but I think we do. Have you read Richard Dawkins' book?
I've read a couple of them.
Yeah, I mean, read The Ancestor's Tale, for instance. And what it is a beautiful story. He's laying out this history of life on Earth. And he's, yes, of course, there's violence in there, and there's all kinds of brutality, and so forth. That's the way nature works, unfortunately. But he's making this case that evolution has really produced the amazing, wonderful diversity of life on Earth. So yeah, we do make the case over and over again. Anything that Carl Sagan ever did was emphasizing the beauty of science.
It's just the whole thing, I mean, especially when you read Dawkins and something else, I think sometimes it's just kind of, I just think that a lot of Americans are just not up to it. You know, they're not up to sit down with Dawkins and say, this is what it is. Because they don't get it. And I just think that in a lot of ways, we have to somehow popularize it to the point where people will get it.
Oh yeah, well, you mentioned Dawkins. I was just talking to Dawkins yesterday. So, and he sees this same problem, that most of Dawkins' books are aimed up here. So they're not real up there, but they're up there a little bit, even his pop science books. But if you go read his latest, The Greatest Show on Earth, that's aimed right square in the middle. If you're a high school graduate, you can read The Greatest Show on Earth and understand every word of it and enjoy it. And he also filled me on his next book. He's writing children's books next. And I think that's a necessary next step, is we've got to hit people at all levels, introduce them to the grandeur of evolution. And he's well aware of this, and this is where he's going.
All right, that's it from me right now. Thank you very much. I'm going to present PZ with one of our teachers from the Mindset Society, Evolutionary Denialism, which means where there is doubt, there is freedom.
Very good.